Hello. So I wanted to talk about data protection. I had to write, or am in the process of writing, a very kind of straightforward piece about data protection, and I haven't, I haven't done something like that in a while. Just dealt with um, the kind of bare bones of the law, just something very normal, if you will, and I find it really difficult. And because of what I have been writing recently and exploring recently, it was all the more apparent to me how disconnected I felt. And I found it really hard to do, to absorb the information, to understand it, to try and translate it into my own words and explain exactly what it was saying. And yeah, I realized how important it is to connect the law in whatever field we might be working in to reality. Like, how do we connect it to something that we recognize, or that just feels relatable? And when I was reading about data protection law, which it was UK based, so the Data Protection Act and the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. Um, as with so much of our laws and legislation, it's written in a way that is extremely detached and objective, and that's for a reason, that it's meant to be that way. But it's very dissociated, and it's very hard to relate to it, to understand how it relates to you and to feel that. So I was imagining, I was just trying to find a way that I could really ground it down and relate to it. And I was imagining two people to whom this law would apply, and that, I was trying to bring some more humanity into it, and that these were two, good people. One is a business owner, or someone who needs the personal data, or someone who's processing the personal data of the other person. And yeah, perhaps they want to do business together, or perhaps one is providing a service to the other in some way. And so there is an exchange of this information. But as I was kind of, putting flesh and blood on these people and imagining them together, and also, imagining it in its highest context, because I feel like a lot of the time with law and how it's written, there is this kind of, yeah, it exacerbates our sense of separation, because there's almost this assumption that we need to be afraid of each other or protect ourselves from each other. And is that really true? It's almost like a catch 22. When that's in place, then we are on guard, and we put up our defenses. We assume that we need to protect ourselves. We're on the defensive, and so law is, I think it's called reifying, is it? Anyway, it's just it's making more solid this sense of separation. But is that actually true? And I was thinking even about things like Airbnb. Like, before that came in, I think there would have been this idea that, oh, how can you trust people just come into your home, and how would that work? And then when it all exploded, I remember in the first few years of it, there was this sense like, wow, like, people are actually really nice. And most people that you go and stay in their home, they're so nice and lovely. And also the people that come and stay in your home are lovely, they're interesting, like 5-star reviews are being shared back and forth. At least that kind of is my sense and experience, and I think that is true, and I think it reflects that. I don't know what the percentage would be, but my guess is like, 90 or higher percent of people, if not more, like maybe 98, 99% of people are good at their core. When you say that to certain people and they say that you're an idealist and you're it's wishful thinking, but I just feel that that's not true. I think our fundamental humanity is good, like good, kind people. So I think we're, considering that in relation to how law is written. I mean, if that was the case, if we were good people and we expected and trusted that others were good, how would then law kind of solidify that um that mode of being and thinking? And I was kind of playing around with this, and what I came up with was, instead of data protection, which, even those words, they are to me cold and hard, and um yeah, they give that feeling of defensiveness and separation. I was thinking of honoring information, and I had two people: the offerer of the information and the acceptor of the information. The offerer, who's the person whose information is being used in some way, shared. This person. So first of all, these two people that I imagine sitting together and um, acknowledging that this process was taking place and there was an exchange. The the position of these two people together was, I respect you, I trust you, I honor you. And this was the feeling that was there between them, rather than, I am wary of you, I need to protect myself, I need to be careful, what can I do to protect myself? Um, yeah, it's a different stance, I think. Um, so the offer of information, I gave her or him this voice of, I respect myself and others. I want to feel respected. I feel safe. I want to feel safe and protected. I honor myself and others. I want to feel honored. I want to share myself and my information with other people and businesses outside my household, because I have a natural desire to connect and exchange with others for all sorts of reasons: to learn, to join groups, to buy goods and services, to do business. And then the acceptor of the information, their stance was, I have integrity, I am honest, I have respect for my community and the people in it, I have respect for the people that choose to share their personal information with me. I would never intentionally cause harm to another. To the best of my ability, I will prevent all unintentional harm to those that choose to do business with me. So that's just something that I put together quite quickly, and it was just for me to feel more into what data protection is, and a warmer way of how it might operate, because it is it is important, you know and that is one way that the law could be reframed, maybe a way of creating safe boundaries and being a container. However, not in a way that is exacerbating a sense of separation and a sense of distrust between us, or further suggesting that we can't trust each other somehow, and that we need these, like, volumes of laws and provisions because someone is going to take advantage of us. So we need, 200 different provisions to cover all sorts of eventualities, because that in it, even if someone might say, oh, we'll point to this case and this case, yeah, that's fine, but it's a vicious circle, because if you give that to people, you're immediately putting them on their guard. They're thinking, oh, I this lawyer is telling me that I need 200 provisions to, and all these eventualities might come about, and immediately the guard will go up and the person will get nervous, and that's often what you see in the legal field. There's so much fear, and um, yeah, it does involve taking a risk to some extent, especially now in this period perhaps of transition and transformation. It can be risky in a way, or take some courage to talk like this too. And I feel that myself, I feel it's a bit risky because you can't guarantee anything. And of course, you may encourage people to take a much more trusting stance. And yeah, of course, sometimes things can go wrong. However, it's much more likely, I think it's much more aligned with how people actually are, whereas the other way is not aligned with how people are, most people. It's actually making people afraid where they don't need to be. Um, it's more aligned with true humanity to have a position of trust and respect, and have a kind of an overarching um, sense of where people stand, um, rather than this kind of cold, detached um, way of devising and analysing a situation and trying to cover all eventualities. So I know that again, this has been a bit of a jumble, but I just wanted to try and record these thoughts while they were in my mind. So thank you for listening.